Welcome to the Lefty Right and Absurd. Cole is going to be late, and I'm very high, so. uh, Matt, what are we
Well,
doing?
this is our first ever debate episode here. We brought on two guests, and we're really glad to have them here. And they're both going to start with their opening statements. So I'm going to hand it right off to you, Henry.
Okay.
Also, before you start, this episode is a debate episode about drugs, so everybody knows. But go ahead.
If at any point I go quiet, the kid is here to buy this week's heroin, so. Go on, Henry.
Oh, okay. So, first I'd like to say, when I'm talking about drugs, I mean, hard drugs, meth, crack, heroin, etc.
Yeah.
And so this debate's mainly about freedom and individual choice. But in my mind, I think, making drugs illegal would actually, make more freedom because a heroin addict probably doesn't have as many choices and as many options and as much freedom as drug-free person, even if that drug-free person, may not be able to, buy drugs because legality and whatnot. That's not really oppressive because it's saving him from the oppression of addiction and a life like that.
Okay. So essentially, you're somewhat saying that some of the harder drugs, like you mentioned, heroin, can actually take away your freedoms.
Yeah. So,
and that banning them would save people from being oppressed in a certain way
by that addiction. Yeah. So, a fence would be oppressive, but then a fence along a cliff, it's not oppressive because it's saving you from falling off a cliff. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Noah, go ahead.
Fuck that fence. I'm Noah, Chimeragalactica. My position is legalize everything. We should ordain drug dealers as saints.
You're goddamn right we should.
You're literally my favorite person ever.
Jesus Christ.
No, but yeah, legalize, decriminalize, or whatever. I don't think drugs are... I think a lot of libertarians have that position on an ideological or economic standpoint, which I do too, but I also just don't think drugs are that bad. I don't have the idea that they're evil. So that's my position. And freedom-wise, you should have the freedom to choose if you want to be a heroin addict or whatever. And with it... All right, yeah, that's it. That wasn't a good start, but...
All right.
Okay. And you don't see drugs.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, go ahead and expound upon your position further if you want to. Make an argument.
I was just gonna say that. Well, he made the argument that if you you should be against drugs because addicts don't have as much freedom. But
Right.
Where does that end for you? You can say a lot of things hold people back, like income inequality and not having access to health care, other stuff like that.
That was a point I made because correct me if I'm wrong here, Henry. Your whole the whole basis of your argument is that drugs are against the society's well-being as a whole, right? And that's why you want them banned. Okay. So at what point does banning and interfering in other people's lives stop if it's for the well-being of society? How is that determined, and what point do you draw the line?
At the point when it's, no longer benefiting society, I guess. I mean, in your post you said arranged marriages and choosing jobs, but we've seen, enough to know that the state is pretty incompetent in that respect.
And that's exactly my point, and that's what I was trying to get to. It's how do you think that they're going to be able to effectively ban drugs? I mean, they've already banned hard drugs as it is now, and it just pushes it underground, creates a black market where there's more violence and more dealers that sell it because it's so profitable because it's illegal. I don't know how, further increasing the penalties you think would reduce that. I'm not sure how you came to that conclusion. So if you want to tell us.
Well, and then also expanding on the arranged marriages and all that stuff, if those were to work and if those, stopped divorce rates and made healthier, relationships, I would see no
But
reason to be against them.
But here's the thing though, that doesn't happen. Like that will never.
I know
Forcing. But that's the whole point I'm getting at is like these extreme examples of like, well, if it did work, but it doesn't. So that's kind of out. That's like kind of a moot point. Saying, well, yeah, in this fantasy scenario where banning or like doing arranged marriages or like picking jobs for people will actually work, then it'd be good. But that will never ever happen. So it's kind of ridiculous to think that like it can work in the same vein as telling people what's good for them and like making their decisions for them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. And then
I think with the drug stuff, like if there's gonna be a demand for something, like there's always gonna be a market, and so my logic with the drug stuff is you can't get rid of the suppliers really. There's always gonna be someone selling that shit. What you can do is you can attack what causes the demand. So that would be socioeconomic problems, health issues, like mental health issues, poverty. If you can attack those, then you can actually lower the rates of addiction and substance abuse. And that's, for me, the best. If you really care about stopping that stuff, that's the best way to tackle it. But taking on like the suppliers and the cartels, if anything, we've seen that doesn't really work. That really makes things worse.
And I think that's interesting because as of right now, we all know of the debate that's going on iFunny about, how should I put this, giving the death penalty to drug dealers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
So that we could get into
not.
that later, or we could, hold that off. It's fine.
No,
Okay.
well, I thought about that too, just because like the logic behind it is weird, because there's libertarians saying that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are against the capital punishment and the idea of punishment over rehabilitation, because we've seen that doesn't really work. When other countries focus on rehab, you have lower rates of what's the word when you
Recidivism.
recidivism. That's it. Yeah. So you have lower rates of that. So I think they believe that, but then they think if you like string up drug dealers, then that'll somehow be a different logic. Like then now no one's going to be a drug dealer. Like I don't really see how that works.
Can we like not dehumanize drug dealers and drug addicts and stuff? Because that's what it seems like a lot of people who say they want to kill drug dealers do. They just dehumanize.
They labeled him as scum, which makes it really easy to dehumanize people once you start throwing negative connotations in terms of people.
My favorite thing is all this is coming from, ACAB and people who are just making pig jokes. So,
Yeah, exactly.
that's a little ironic. I'd say the kill all drug dealers thing is kind of the same likes as ACAB, and not exactly, every single one I'm going to go out and kill them, but just like kind of a way of expressing how anti-drugs you are and how you aim it more at the dealers versus the users.
ACAB is ACAB, all cops are bastards, by the way, for anyone wondering.
I didn't know that.
Okay, yeah. And then, the other point I was going to address that you guys brought up was, you said poverty and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have the same exact views on poverty. If it takes the state to alleviate poverty, I'm okay with that, because it's not really oppression if it saves people from oppression. Once again, laws aren't.
I hate going back to this, but like we have kind of a clear track record of the state being really fucking awful at alleviating poverty. They actually make more of it. So I'm like, whenever the state tries to take an action and they say, okay, we're going to do away with X, Y, or Z, or we're going to alleviate this, or we're going to implement this program to benefit X, Y, and Z population, like it always has the opposite effect. Like there's very, very few government programs, if any, that I can think of off the top of my head that have like actually produced the result that they were going for. The war on poverty that started in the 1960s with Lyndon Baines Johnson's Great Society programs like actually created more welfare dependents and more people in poverty than were before that was happening. Like the poverty rate in America was actually on the decline, and it was going to be like a world record lows had they not stepped in. But LBJ's Great Society and all his programs that he implemented in the 60s, kind of stopped that, and now more people are on welfare than otherwise would have been. So I'm still like, the whole crux of my argument is not understanding how you think the state can solve these issues whenever we have a clear track record of them being absolute fuck ups at it.
Okay, to me, I'm former anarchist, so I, held the same views, And really, it's more bureaucracies and whatnot causing all that problems. Do you really think like in the type of state I would support wouldn't be held back by all this? This is gonna sound dumb, but like Constitution, Congress, whatnot. Be a clear way for someone to. And also, I'd like to elaborate on what my policies that I'd support would be.
Sure.
Mandate rehabilitation for all users caught with anything, tough drug, obviously not like marijuana or whatever. Subsidize it also. It's not poor people have access to it because the majority of users are probably poor or whatnot. Address poverty and the problems that lead to drug use. Make mental health, stuff easier access for people. Strict sentences for dealers, so much so that it's like a suicide if you get caught, And tight immigration policy, not necessarily nationalistic, but just no more like smuggling into U.S. and whatnot. Because if you look at the drug war, a lot of it was we helped cartels and looked the other way and profited off of it, and that's the main reason it kind of failed.
Okay. Well, I mean, what do you think about like Portugal, where they decriminalize everything and they have really low rates of addiction, and I think they're at the lowest that they've ever been for overdoses and addiction rates and all that kind of stuff.
I believe they have socialized healthcare and socialized rehab centers and stuff. So.
Oh well, yeah, I know, but like
that
stuff helps with stopping like the addiction part, but you still think that you should be hard on drug dealers, and you still want everything like illegal. Like for me, like that, they succeeded because they legalized it, so you didn't have the market anymore. Like the market is what makes it so dangerous.
The black market will always be smaller than it will be in a legalized market. That's agreeable, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I don't see how legalizing it would cut down necessarily.
Because it takes away from the profit. Like you have the black market the black market's smaller in competition, but like whenever you have more people legally in the market, there's not that the reason drugs are so expensive is you're selling risk premiums. You're not just selling drugs. Because whenever you sell someone like fucking heroin, you're also selling them the cost like as an assurance that you're not going to go to prison. Like that's part of the added cost of the drug. It's because you don't want to fucking do 25 to life for selling a shitload of heroin. Whenever you make it legal, you take that away, and so it's less expensive, and then people don't have such an incentive to get in the market because there's not as much profit to be made anymore.
Or that creates more users. It could have a backwards effect.
It doesn't have that effect, though. We've seen that with decriminalizing drugs and legalizing drugs. There are fewer addicts and fewer users, and people have lower addiction rates in countries that have decriminalized and legalized those drugs. So that argument doesn't hold water.
Yeah. Yeah, with what you're saying, like, like in North Korea, like, you can't have porn, right? Or you can't have certain electronics. And so that creates a huge black market for it. So
no, I'm aware
like
of
a internet player, like it would be like thousands of dollars. And then
yeah, people will like whenever I remember whenever the iPhone 6 came out, people in South Korea or whatever, or like I think it was North Korea, I'm sorry. They bought like hundreds and hundreds of iPhone 6s and would smuggle them into North Korea and then sell them. Like, and they made a shitload of money because it was illegal. Like the profit motive there because it's illegal and there's a risk premium involved for whatever substance, phones, drugs, like porn, it doesn't matter what it is. If you make it illegal, it's going to be more expensive and it's going to drive more people into the market because there's a higher profit ratio than it would be otherwise if it was legal.
Okay, and then so I'd like to get this straight. So if a state policy was effective, if it worked, you guys would be pro that drug policy.
No.
Then why are you using that argument? That seems ironic.
We're not using that argument.
We're just using
you're saying it wouldn't be effective. But if it would, that you still wouldn't support it. So it's like when anarchists talk about police brutality. Even if police weren't brutal, they would still not support it. It's the institution itself.
Right.
But we're just using your logic for your, like, addressing within your bounds that you're arguing from, not ours.
Pardon me?
If that makes sense. I want to go like onto the idea why drugs are so bad. Like, why do you think? Like, I think everyone should do drugs.
I
Hard
want to get
drugs.
this out. You said that hard drugs are more oppressive than any state could possibly be, right?
Then the state policy against them would be. That's what I meant. Obviously, freaking, genocide or whatever is going to be more oppressive than cocaine, but
And so, how do you stop a state that has that much power to influence people's personal decisions from becoming a state like that?
this is going to get into somewhere else, but
Well, I mean, I think
tie it to the church.
crucial. That's crucial to the argument, though, because I mean, if you're just going to have a state that can intervene in people's lives, like wherever, and it doesn't have any restrictions on it, like ours supposedly does, it kind of gets out of hand.
Theocracy would be my answer to that. Tying it with the church.
Okay, back to why you think drugs are so bad.
Okay, I was gonna. I don't know if any of you saw. I made an essay about yaba, which is a Thai hard drug that's kind of popped up in Thailand late 90s.
I don't think I saw it yet.
Okay, it's like caffeine, meth, and some parts of it contain heroin, and people use it to stay up for days on end. Like over half the population had tried it and stuff. Huge deal.
Okay.
And 2003, the King of Thailand or whatever, he announced a drug war against the drug to kind of stop it. And the police basically declared open season. They'd look the other way if dealers were killed. So family members affected by the drugs, former users, whatnot, kind of took up arms against the dealers, and so did police. And in 3 months, over 2,500 yaba dealers were killed, which is like over 25 a day. It's like a huge human rights violation or whatever, what they say, but it also completely basically stopped the drug in Thailand. But it's still in Burma and surrounding countries, but in Thailand it's no longer an issue. All this was in 2003.
A question I would have is that, where would you stop, as in, stopping dealers? Would you, say, a pot dealer or someone who deals in psychedelics, psilocybin or LSD or something like that, would those be punished just as harshly?
No.
And if
I think,
no, then, how would you prevent that from being elevated to the level of punishing those type of dealers?
Because there's a difference between, a meth head with tooth decay and whatnot, and pores, whatever it's called on your skin, itching the skin, scabs all over, just whole life ruined, than, a teenager looking for a pot or anything like that. So it's not as harmful, obviously.
Yeah, of course, but I'm saying, would you make it known to people? Because, I mean, if you look back and you see something like Reefer Madness, then people get the impression that things like marijuana are deadly, horrible drugs.
But that wasn't true. The stuff
exactly.
that we know today about the current drugs is true.
Okay. I'm just making sure, no propaganda campaigns against this, right?
Well, I don't know. To me, propaganda always kind of has a negative connotation because it's kind of presumed as fake or whatever. But the anti-smoking ads we used to run when we were kind of going up against big tobacco, those were propaganda, but
yeah,
we didn't directly really lie about it.
Okay. I guess I'm saying is how would we prevent the general public from getting the idea that certain drugs are just as all drugs are equally harmful? Just be honest and truthful about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really see that idea anywhere, kind of.
Okay.
To me, I think it's always even police, ones I've talked to or teachers who've had to deal with that, they're not really concerned about pot unless, it's a stoner kid who's, messing with his life.
Mhm.
But, they'd be more concerned about drugs where it directly, is kind of impeding on their life and
All right,
holding them back.
thank you. That's really all I have to say. I'll let Noah go more because he think he needs to talk more.
Yeah, I wanted Noah to. Can you explain why you don't think these drugs are harmful?
I think just statistically, they're not that many people OD. There's not a huge. I think there's like a bigger problem with the way that we've chosen to deal with drugs. There's a lot more death involved with that than the drugs themselves. So we've created a larger issue than what's actually happened. I just don't think. I don't see cocaine or heroin as that bad. Like I don't. It ruins some people's lives, but there's a lot of people that do it and they're okay.
Like who?
Quite
Are
a
you
few.
kidding me? There's like tons of people that can do coke like 1 or 2 times in like a social setting and totally be fine and never
Oh
get
yeah,
addicted to it.
Oh no. Okay,
Like
yeah.
that's
I
probably
understand what you're
more.
saying.
That's
Sorry,
probably
I thought you meant like
yeah.
And
regular users.
even using cocaine like caffeine, I don't think is wrong either. If you can hold it and not die, then it's like I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do that.
We talking about like Hunter S. Thompson individuals here?
Hang on. Can I go back to? No, I didn't understand that last point you were saying.
What do you mean? Wait, what?
I didn't understand that last point you were saying before whoever jumped in.
Oh, I don't see the problem with like doing cocaine like caffeine. Like if you just did, like in the 80s, everyone was doing cocaine, and a lot of people were fine.
There was a crack epidemic, so that's kind of what started the whole escalation
Crack,
on the war
crack
on drugs.
is an offshoot from the drug war.
I'm sorry, come again?
But crack was created because of the drug war for a cheaper alternative for cocaine.
Mm.
And so if cocaine was, I'm not saying that crack isn't bad, but it's pretty great.
Okay.
And then with methamphetamine, like methamphetamine is also has some harmful effects. You get neurological disorders if you do it for a long term. But chemically, it's pretty similar to other amphetamines and stuff that you use to treat ADHD, ADD, and other diet pills. That's why people are addicted to diet pills. The worst part about methamphetamine is the purity, because what you're getting is like cleaning fluid. And the meth mouth is actually from dehydration, because you get dehydrated because you're not drinking water, taking care of your hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
I mean,
still a symptom of
yeah, no, it's a
chronic
symptom.
meth use. So I was gonna say, I'm talking about chronic use, addiction, all this stuff, and I don't care if someone likes doing cocaine that doesn't necessarily impede on their life. I'm okay with taking that from them if it means it saves another person's life from going down the drain due to coke or meth or whatever.
Would you be against like banning like fast food and like other stuff that hurts people like that like really? Because like fast food industries directly influence like obesity, diabetes, heart disease.
Yeah, I made this argument in my post and you just called it a slippery slope. But I mean, like, it's a legitimate series of questions if your entire premise is that because people can make bad decisions and it can impact the overall happiness of society that you need to step in. Like, I'm not seeing how that's a slippery slope. If that's the premise of your argument for drugs, that can be applied literally anywhere else in society that you think it can be bad for the health of society. So
addiction isn't as prevalent in fast food as it is in hard drugs.
So why is addiction the thing that they're looking at? I mean,
yeah, I thought the whole premise was it's bad for society.
It is
not addiction
because of addiction.
So fast food is
Without
definitely
addiction,
worse for
I
society.
doubt people would really stick with a lot of these drugs.
But fast food is definitely worse for society than hard drug addiction, is it not?
No, what?
But
I would rather get rid of meth and keep McDonald's and Burger King than get rid of McDonald's and Burger King and keep the current.
But like obesity causes so many health problems. Like it's like you have heart disease and like people are.
And can I get into this a little bit?
Go for it.
I'd like to regulate the fast food industry and kind of control what goes in, not to the point where deciding what people eat, but to the point where they don't fill it with chemicals, and for the most part it's healthy to eat. So if that counts, not banning fast food, that's kind of ridiculous because
How is that ridiculous?
Because you can go and get a Big Mac every week or something and not really become obese as long as you have a normal diet. You can't necessarily go...
That doesn't make it healthy.
You
That's
can do
not what I'm
meth
trying-
every week and be fine.
No.
Do it once a week.
If you try meth once a week, you're probably going to end up addicted.
Welcome, Cole.
Here, guys.
Let's look
I've
up.
been having all this healthy air. Let me go out and smoke a cigarette. It's okay. It's all in moderation, right?
Yeah.
The concept of moderation is the most ridiculous concept in the fucking world. Unless you can physically define what actual moderation is, there is no...
I had a post. I'm not sure if you guys saw this.
Wait.
It's-
Wait. Moderation's a crazy concept. So that means that anyone who does anything is addicted. Like,
Who said that?
No.
Can I read what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
This was how much time you lose of your life with each, like basically hit.
Where
of different
was
drugs.
the source for that? Because I saw the post. What was the source?
It was an addiction treatment site. I can probably look it up and find the real source if you'd like.
Yeah, send it to me.
And if you do, we can try to find a way to link that in the comments or in our description.
Okay. I'm just gonna Google it to see what I can find.
by the way, shout out to Statist.
Yeah, he wanted to be my debate partner.
You
and
said like every puff or every like hit you take takes certain amounts of seconds off your life or whatever.
Yeah, and like some
Who
one drink
gives
of
a
alcohol.
fucking shit? Who the fuck wants to live to be fucking 90?
And another thing is,
I
like,
don't
why
wanna
do you
live
get to make
past
that decision
fucking
for
50.
people? Like, why do you have to fucking make people suffer through this meme hell for 90 years? Like, why is that a thing?
I mean, if you want to do it, I mean, I can understand if you
listening
want
to
to give
yourself?
people the options and whatever. It's like here are the what's gonna happen every time you do the hit. Now make the decision. I can understand that, but like trying to like I don't know scare them into like not doing it, it doesn't really help.
Okay, and Eric's the stats guy. Like, he knows that statistic isn't, like, that's not literal. Like, you're not literally taking that time off your life. That's an amount. That's
Oh,
like
Yeah,
a.
that's an
No.
average, basically.
I found, yeah.
All right,
It's
before
not like
you
take half a hit and then.
before you read
Well,
off
it's-
these
it's
stats
tot-
real quick.
But the whole point of that is it's totally dependent on the person. Like, you can have someone that's in great fucking physical
And the body,
condition.
but
Exactly, that's what I'm getting at. Like,
Yeah.
it depends on the person.
All right, before you read off that statistics, I hate to do this, but like I say, we try to keep this between Noah and Henry here
I'd like
as much
that.
as we can.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. I mean,
I'm
'cause
cool with
I feel
questions,
like
but-
we're kind of somewhat ganging up on Henry, and I just want to make sure this seems fair. Go on.
Bully.
All right. This is treatmentforaddiction.com. This is actually a big site. Like, I thought it was dumb, but so they did average, average lifetime minus average age of death, number of years lost, per each drug, and they have this whole equation down at the bottom, and then so I'll read off the main ones. Meth takes off 11.1 hours average for each hit. And I mean, yeah, that is dependent on how often you use and how healthy you are, but it's
I'm really
never
interested
gonna
to see how they obtain these samples.
it's never average age of meth users
Not
death
how they
versus-
calculated it. I mean, I just want to see like who they were sampling and like how they acquired the data, because that's kind of important.
UN Office on Drugs and Alcohol or whatnot has all these sources and census data for
I'll check it.
drug users. But anyways, so meth takes off 11.1 hours. That's half a day. And obviously this fluctuates, but it's never going to, fluctuate enough to the point where meth adds any hours or does anything like that. Like no matter.
Well, yeah, but it adds to the quality of life, because you feel great.
Hold on, I believe he just dropped out.
Yeah, he dropped.
I'll send him a re-invite. But to keep things going, if we feel like we've exhausted this topic, we can move on to individual choice in the matter of drugs, because I think he had a lot to say about that, and I might actually be a bit more on his side on that one, actually.
What was that? I kind of missed it.
He dropped out of the call.
No, I missed what you were siding with him on.
Individual
Oh,
choice.
individual choice thing.
Yeah, I might have to, like, go in, like, 5 or 6 minutes.
Alright.
All right, I'm about to resend that invite.
Hey.
Mm.
No.
Cole, Adam told your joke for you.
Oh, yeah.
There he is, right there. Okay, he's back.
Alright.
Henry, you're muted.
Me?
There.
Okay, hey, sorry, I don't know what happened. I said I was removed from the call for like 5 minutes.
It's okay.
Did you guys hear what I said?
You'll drop out from time to time. It's okay. Happened to
Okay.
Adam just a few minutes ago. Carry on.
Where did I leave off?
You were saying how meth takes like 11.1 hours off someone's life.
Oh, 11.1, heroin 22.8, methadone was like 16 or something. So.
But methadone's the treatment for heroin.
Yeah, I know, but okay, so you get addicted to heroin, and then you lose more life getting off of heroin too. So.
But what about non-physically addictive drugs? The psychologically addictive.
Like what?
What?
Any non-physically addictive drug is still psychologically addicting. It's why people.
Oh yeah, no, I know. There's like sex addicts and all that, but people
addicted
can
to
still become
MDMA.
less prevalent than other drugs, though.
I don't think that's true.
It's like I'm saying, cocaine's addictive or whatever, and you guys, there's a saying, oh, it's so good, it's like crack or whatever. And then here, you guys are saying, yeah, but on My Strange Addiction, I saw someone addicted to Scotch tape. Do you want to ban that? It's kind of just ridiculous.
That's not what we're saying at all.
Yeah.
Not even close.
This was the argument you brought up, and so
Do
did
you mean like
Austin.
other people you've argued with? Not particularly us, but you've heard other people mention this.
Austin, and then Eric backed him up too. I remember when Austin was talking about other things that people can become addicted to and how addiction works.
Okay,
remember
but like,
that?
all right, just making sure.
Okay.
I'm addicted to jacking off. I'll admit that.
Who
That's
isn't though?
I don't know. There's some people that swear they never jack off. I don't believe it.
Do you remember like Bill or someone said like he was like 3 months clean? He made some post about he's done jacking off.
All right. You guys want to talk about individual choice?
Yeah.
I know you had something to say about that.
Henry.
Drugs take away individual choice. The drug starts to make the decisions. You see addicts who will rob their own families and steal from people and commit crime that they otherwise wouldn't commit, because they need money to buy this drug. So.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I don't think drugs take away. I think it's still an individual choice. I mean, those things. I had a better point. I just think you should be able to have the right to follow your own volition and do drugs if you want. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna do, shit to your family or rob them, then you should be persecuted. But other than that, if you're not hurting anyone.
At that point, is it really fair when it's not necessarily something they would do clean? Then, I know that kind of sounds. The voluntary thing is, someone made the analogy. It's like jumping off a cliff. That your first step off is voluntary, and then past, then you can't stop it. Really, that's kind of addiction.
What do you mean? Explain that. What do you
like the first time you go and buy drug? The first time you go and buy drugs, it's completely voluntary, and then past then.
And then afterwards.
It could be considered voluntary because you consented the first time, and you.
I mean, but that's operating under the assumption that you get addicted immediately. Like and only 10% of most people that use drugs get addicted to any hard drug. You don't get addicted
Wait,
necessarily.
hang on. Where's that source from? And what drugs? Just drugs in general?
Yeah, to anything. Like
10% of people get addicted. To what?
It's extremely prevalent for people with addictive personalities. That
or
huge
people
role.
undergoing depression and whatnot, looking for an escape.
Yeah, so that means that they would be predisposed to addiction, but that's not the drugs doing it. That's their own mind. So I mean, obviously, someone like that doesn't have the freedom to ever act, I guess, in your opinion, of their own volition, since they have a mental health disorder, right? Like, how would you fix that?
Come again? No, it's not that some people are addicted to no matter what, to stuff, just no matter what it is. They will always have an addiction. That's not a thing. It's some people get easier addicted to certain stuff.
Yeah, it's an addictive personality.
I'm so lost right now.
Okay, so why should we take away people's choice to do drugs?
Here's something that I thought was kind of interesting.
Hello? Sorry. I think I dropped out or something.
To mention Cole, Cole, you're a vegan, and I don't know, do you think that eating meat is more harmful than doing drugs?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to ask you, why do you not believe that we should ban eating meat?
Because people have the free choice to do it. I mean, I think you're basically moronic if you choose not to, because you're making a conscious choice to negatively affect yourself. And I will think the same thing about someone who chooses to do heroin. You're going to negatively affect yourself, but I think that's your fucking choice.
The first time, and then afterwards it's the drug addiction taking hold.
I don't think that's true. I don't think you can even prove that.
Once addiction starts,
but you're saying the first time. Addiction doesn't ever, like, the probability, like, the number of times that addiction starts after you do a drug once is so fucking irrelevant that it's shouldn't even be, like, entertained as an idea. That's just retarded.
What do you mean?
I was going to say this, but granted, it's obviously anecdotal evidence, but most of my friends have some prior situation with drug use. Be it things from, I've known people who have smoked fucking meth, I've known people who have done heroin, I've known people who were addicted, I've known people who had no problem just stopping, and they used it habitually.
Anecdotal evidence.
Well, okay, here no, hold on, Cole. I really need to make this point. So you said the first time that it's like people do drugs once and then they get addicted. I am going to need sources for that, because you're making the claim that after you do drugs one time, you get addicted.
I
mean,
do you have
the first... like any stat? No. Do you have any stats to like prove that, or like
you're
any
misinterpreting
research or
what
evidence?
I said. It doesn't matter how many times it takes. It's that those first few times before it starts, those are when it's voluntary. After that, it's involuntary. It's the addiction kind of takes.
So those who are addicted,
you're moving the goalpost. You said it was the first time, and now it's the first few times. Which is it?
How? This is a ridiculous trying to corner me. It's like, how? Wait, how?
Let me try to understand, like, here, because I think I know what you're saying. Now, you're not saying
until you're. I mean, okay. Have any of you guys like gone through addiction or whatever?
Yeah, I've been through it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do you think you do things, for whatever you're addicted to, or under addiction that you wouldn't usually do? So then is that not the addiction kind of acting for you?
No, and the reason.
No, I don't.
I'll say
Why that definition? Keep going.
It's cognitive dissonance to blame something else for your actions. They don't. People think that these drugs do these things to you, but it's not.
So the very fact that people stop proves that you're in control, right? Like,
No. Some more so than others. Yeah, I agree. Some have better access to resources.
No, but yes. What?
Some. Okay. It proves some people can be in control, and it proves you're still in control to an extent. But there's a lot of people who go clean and come back or whatnot.
All I get from that is that they don't have their willpower themselves to begin with. Be it.
Let's let Noah take
Addiction's
this.
a pretty strong thing.
I don't think addiction exists. I mean, going through the program.
You don't think addiction exists?
No, I mean, I think at a very low percent it does, but for the most part, it's everything. Addiction is a product. It's not like it's a summation of a bunch of things, a bunch of choices, and a bunch of factors that influence whether you're going to keep using or not.
But why does that make it not exist?
Because like I'm talking like genetically, like.
You think people who live in like a crack house just like decide themselves, oh, you know what, good life, I like it.
Yeah.
They like the crack, they don't like their life.
There's
Exactly.
a lot of people that do crack that like their life.
If you listen to my example, actually, I said like people living in a crack house, like obviously, heavily into, So, keep going, Noah.
Yeah, no, I just don't think that. I think you're giving too much power to the drug. I don't think there is that much. I don't think you lose that much volition when you are under the influence of a drug. And I think that's a really subjective thing to even. You can't really have an objective marker of how much control you're losing. You know what I'm saying?
No, you can't have an objective one, but there is, kind of ranges.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't see how you can. I just don't see how you can try to legislate that or use that as a jumping off point for an argument like that. It limits freedom. Like a lot of things limit freedom. I don't know, dude.
Okay, well,
I've had way too much coffee. I'm like so jittery right now. Speaking of drugs, there's actually a lot of people that overdose.
When someone makes a decision under the influence of alcohol or whatever, it's, the drunk them kind of oppresses and ruins the life of the sober them. So
under alcohol,
you're
not doing anything that you wouldn't normally do. Like it's just lowering your inhibitions. Like you would still do that shit, but like it's just you'd be more apprehensive about it. I have been an alcoholic before.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I didn't mean like it would make you want to do certain things. Like I shouldn't have used like maybe it'll make you make mistakes or whatever. Like it won't make you want to crash your car, but harder to drive and whatnot.
But that has no relevance.
So it's like the addicted you and the clean you, or the under the influence you and the clean you are two separate people, one acting on another. So so you have to protect yourself from the other.
Psychologically,
just letting everyone know this, we're about 43 minutes in.
Okay. So you said something like the way you phrased it, you need to protect yourself. Why does somebody else need to protect you from you?
Why does somebody else need to protect you? Why don't they? If you need protection from other...
No, you're the one saying they do. You need to prove why they do.
I'd say if a person, a separate person, caused the type of damage drugs do to you, to your body, they did that to you,
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you doing something to yourself.
I know, but that'd be horrible, and that person, should be locked up and whatnot.
But that's a whole separate argument.
So I don't see how
it
changes.
There's not an outside force acting on you. You're doing it yourself. Why do you not have the freedom to do that to yourself? Why does somebody else have to prevent you from doing whatever you want with your own body?
Because it's a harmful act.
There's a lot of things that are a harmful act.
Why do you
get to prevent that? You're the one advocating for action. Why do you get to prevent people? You don't just be, it's harmful. Like, there's a lot of shit that people do that's harmful. You were talking about fast food. Fast food's really not that good for you. Like, where does it fucking stop?
Okay. You're still capitalist, or have capitalist preference at least?
Not really. I don't know. I don't know anymore, honestly.
Okay, well, you still prefer anarchism to other ideologies, so why do you put that one over others? What criteria does like for me it's just what
Because you're
leads to best
advocating a
life for
position
the,
of violence. I'm advocating a position of no action. Like whenever you have no action, you have
you're
no state.
advocating
I'm not
a position of
advocating.
allowing
No.
self-violence.
I'm
I'm
telling you
advocating
what
for
I'm advocating. Do you want to tell me what I'm advocating, or do you want to let me
I'd like
finish
to,
my
yeah.
thought? Okay, well then go ahead,
Go for
because it's not right. So go ahead.
Not all force is an inherently unjust force.
I didn't say
Me
that.
stopping someone from hurting you isn't, unjust. It's not a violent act. So why is me
I
stopping
didn't
you
say
from
that
hurting
it
yourself?
was.
Hang on, can I finish?
Go for
So
it.
me stopping someone from hurting you isn't a violent act. Why is me stopping you from hurting yourself a violent act?
Because I get to decide my own life. Like, if you just get to stop me from doing bad things to myself all the time, there's no line that you can't draw that you could say, oh, well, this could be bad.
Would that
for you.
not
That's what I'm
lead to a
getting
better
at.
life if certain mistakes weren't made? Like, why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't that not
Why
be
is it someone else's
beneficial to
responsibility,
society in
though? That's
general?
what I'm asking. Why is it someone else's responsibility for you to fucking plan my life? Why can't do that myself?
Yeah, you can do it yourself to the
Okay,
extent
then
that you don't hurt yourself.
Why? No. Why are you drawing that distinction?
And plus the distinction of what hurts you and what doesn't, like you're saying, it's really subjective. Like some people think that being taught religion and being subjected to that as a young person is harmful to your psychological development. Anything like that. And so if you start dictating what is harmful or not, then it's a weird line, because you can say, because not everyone dies from doing drugs. Like it's not always harmful. You're taking the
Not all
toll
harm
that
is
it's
equal, though.
always what?
Not all harm is equal. If I say I want to prevent you from getting sores on your body and from going on trips later in life randomly and all this horrible side effects of drug use, is that
Exactly. Well, yeah, like you said, so not all harms are equal. That seems a lot less harmful than other things that you probably wouldn't.
if I want to prevent all this bad stuff from happening to you, how is that? It's like this stuff is worse than other stuff to prevent. Obviously, I can't stop you from falling down, but it's weird to expect that since I want to save you from one thing, I have to automatically support everyone has that type.
Do you know how many people die a year from hard drug use? Do you have that number?
It's so low.
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that more
Compared to
people
the
die
user?
from fucking car accidents than they do from hard drugs.
Because they're illegal, because they're not readily available to everyone.
No. Drugs are like, we've been over this. You legalize it and the usage rate goes down. That's not a disputable fact. And if you're going to dispute that, then there's no fucking point in having this conversation anymore.
Go for it. Keep going.
A lot of people die.
Oh wow. 20,000 due to illicit illegal drugs.
35,000 due to car accidents.
How many? Okay, let's transition into this question then. How many die from legal drugs?
A lot more. Alcohol,
Yeah,
cigarettes,
a lot more.
pills.
I don't like when people bring that up in debates. Like, what about alcohol? What about prescription drugs? Like, I'm not just gonna say, oh yeah, okay, I'm fine with oxy. Like, just as much against that and corrupt doctors or whoever.
Let's try to think of some questions for Noah here, because, just to play devil's advocate, because obviously, I, Cole, and Eric, we don't agree with Henry's stance, but to make it fair, I think we should all throw some questions at Noah, if we have any.
Sure.
Okay, I want to try to make this fair. Anybody got anything?
I don't ask stupid questions.
No, if someone, it's gonna sound dumb, but obviously if someone forcefully injected someone else with meth or whatever, would that be, that's wrong, right?
Yes, everything you've brought up is someone else acting on someone else, not someone acting on their own.
I thought I said Noah. I didn't. No, I said Eric.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, let's not respond to points that are brought up. Let's not have a discussion.
Okay, I just addressed Noah. And then, so if someone forcefully whatever did that to you, versus if someone forcefully like made you accept $100, there's a difference, right?
Here,
Yeah, I guess.
I have a question for Noah. Actually, I think this is actually a fairly valid one. With the black market, we've noticed that most black market dealers, or to simplify it, street dealers, will generally do more so what's in their own best interest,
Yeah.
especially in the sect of profit motive. We've recently seen, well, over the years, we've seen spikes in people selling drugs under one name when they're actually something else. A few examples would be selling someone MDMA under the guy, selling something that's considered called MDMA when in actuality it's bath salts, or selling someone what they think is LSD when it's actually a dangerous research chemical like 25I NBOME.
Okay.
What about situations like that where the dealer is knowingly selling dangerous substances under the guise of a safe substance?
Are you like asking me like if I think that's wrong, or like
how can we trust dealers when there's people out there like that?
Well, I mean, I think it's like with any business. Obviously, you just know who to go to. But yeah, there's definitely. I think that's just a capitalist thing. A business thing is that
I completely understand. Yeah, mind you, I completely know like the answer to it. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, actually, I've done. I'm pretty sure I've done meth because I thought it was something else. Like, it was a thing going around called Fizz that everyone thought was MDMA, and it turns out it wasn't.
All right.
But I mean, it happened.
I know there was a discussion on cultural and like social factors that lead to drug use, and I guess that would play into the
I think the
responsibility
biggest way to get rid of drugs is alleviate poverty, because that's what kind of creates these conditions that make people go looking for drugs, and also that make people kind of forced to sell drugs.
Like, would you argue that that's another example of how it isn't entirely an individual choice because there's other factors in play?
Sorry, come again?
Like, would you argue that because there's so many external factors at play that it's not an entirely individual choice?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, it's not entirely.
Yeah. It's not necessarily just them deciding to use, or just them deciding to sell.
Both actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like that's a curious point because your argument was that people who do drugs like aren't in charge of their own life, or they don't have true freedom because they're under the influence of a drug. So do you believe that drug dealers are acting out of their own kind of choice? Like, are they acting with their own volition, or are they being influenced by something else? Like, not addiction, but obviously the poverty, like that's influencing them and taking away their freedom, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does kind of give me some sympathy for them, but you have to then again remember how many people go bankrupt and lose homes and lose money and lose jobs because of their addiction. So like they create and spread more poverty than whatever they're trying to alleviate. So
Sure.
Money spent on drugs instead of food. You hear about meth heads who don't eat or don't drink or whatever, especially alcoholics. People very addicted to alcohol won't eat for days, and that's why they're usually pretty skinny and stuff. So
another thing, we're also about 55 minutes in. We can make this go over an hour if you guys want, and you still have more to say.
at this point, I feel a lot of the arguments are kind of repeated.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys want to,
If you want to say any final
to bring up,
words, ending statements, or we can end it.
Final words. I like drugs.
Me too.
That's
Same.
you guys all say that, but do you really like doing math and all that stuff? Like, you know,
it was a fun time, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing about a lot of illicit drugs. I've known people that have done heroin a few times and been perfectly cool with it. Personally, I want to smoke fucking opium, which is
that's why that's heroin. It's usually one hit or two hits that kind of gets you addicted. 'Cause that's kind of why, isn't it like chasing the dragon?
Dragon.
Yeah, and that's just kind of chasing your first hit. You want one, that's good, and that's kind of what starts the addiction. So,
All right, Cole, I'm glad you're here because you can do an outro for us. Adam was too stoned to do an intro, so.
Jesus Christ.
We're not professionals.
What drugs do? They ruined our podcast.
Ban drugs. Ruin podcasts.
Ban all drugs.
Well, it's great having you too.
Well, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys for being on.
Tell us what you guys thought of the debate episode. If you guys really did like it, we will definitely be having more. We just need more people like Henry here and Noah that were kind enough to actually not only show up, but volunteer to do this.
For the first time, too.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you both for being on. You both are good sports. Appreciate your participation.
Thanks for having us.
I tried to do a volunteering debate episode. It completely flopped, but thank you guys for showing up. To everyone who watched, please like, comment, subscribe, tell us what you think.
And vote in the comments who you think won.
Tell your fucking drug dealers, too.
Share this video with your drug dealers and tell them to share it with their drug dealing friends so everybody gets hooked on this drug called the left, the right, and the absurd. Thanks for watching.
Also, tell them to sell me drugs or send them to me for free. All right, thank you, folks. Good night.